you again, and I'm alone now, trying to begin, but I don't know how.
It was meant to be beautiful, make us happy and free. Maybe it's possible, maybe it's meant to be.
How many times will we break our promise? How many times shall we lie? How long until we stop being afraid? Until we look each other straight in the eye.
But this is a test now. Will we be true? Will we be brave now? Will we carry it through?
Anyway, I miss you tonight.
Ooh.
And I'm a little sad.
Ooh.
But inside I feel my heart.
Ooh.
And that makes me glad. How many times will we break our promise? How many times shall we lie? How long until we stop being afraid? Until we look each other straight in the eye. Anyway, I miss you tonight. I'm a little sad, but inside I feel my heart, and that makes me glad.
In this cycle, until dinner, we'll be very personal with our senses, from where we're just standing in this topics and this discussion that we can watch, look. I've gone over to the farmhouse and I looked there, and it touched me, these expressions of experiences, to feel in every relationship individually, to feel, oh, there's the discussion of what we're talking about here. It happens individually in everyone, every individual one differently, and in every circle or every constellation where it comes up. So it's so manifold as life is, and how these questions are being understood or lived. So that was a nice mix of examples, how you can experience it or feel it in everyday life, and you are confronted with freedom, or you get in contact with the possibility of freedom. And since yesterday noon here, it's been very intensive with all these presentations, with the film and all we've heard and what was given as input. And it would be nice to let that settle down, but maybe also to research further into it, but also to arrive with yourself. And we'd like to invite you to different situations. I don't like to say exercises, but a few inspirations how you can very concretely look at these questions and these topics together. And we have a few suggestions for you. Are you starting with a suggestion how you can feel into it and look into it, so that there's a very personal, and it can be experienced in a very personal way, and everything we've heard, that we can put it into effect. Exactly, we'd like you to suggest exercises of encountering with each other. They can also go very deep, and we'd suggest as a first encounter you could just sit up, those that are still lying down. So that you can look around in the room for the first encounter in twos. The suggestion is not to do it with a partner that you've come here with or that you're very familiar with, but find someone else, and also somebody of the opposite sex. And maybe you can look around if there's someone where you feel an attraction. So, in the certainty that attraction is always there, that you can feel it, it's playing between us. It's a very natural course of action that's always happening. Sometimes you find the outwardly attractive or the being. Sometimes it's a sexual attraction, or sometimes it's your own projection or your own past, whatever is there, that you just take a moment of time to feel that, what is there, what plays there between us. And when you find somebody, that you go very slowly and without many words, you go to that person and find yourself to one opposite the other. Can I ask if all exercises are also being filmed? The answer was yes. If possible, few words. It doesn't need any words, just stillness. I'm sure there's still some. Why don't you stand up? And here we need somebody still as a partner. Those who are still standing are still looking for a partner. Have a look who's still standing. Yes, Yuma still. And now there's the invitation to start by closing your eyes. And you feel your inside for a moment. What does this do to follow an invitation for an exercise of meeting somebody? Does it invigilate you, make you more alive in your perception? What do you feel exactly in your body while you're sitting across from this person? And then you can check again, was that your attraction? Did you follow your attraction? What attracted you? And what does this attraction want? How do you perceive it? Is there an impulse or a certain movement in you towards this person? Is connected with it an intention, a wish, or an interest, or a question? And while you're doing this, not to forget that we're here together in this room. Outside, the birds are singing. You can hear the children's voices. Still, with your eyes closed, can you feel into your counterpart across from you? Also, your counterpart has an attraction towards you that brought him here or her here. What do you perceive there? When you imagine that you are a human being, a body with an energy field, and at this moment a very special one that expresses you exactly, and also the one across from you, a body, a being with an energy field, and your energy fields are overlapping. They're permeating each other anyway, already, whether we're conscious of it or not. But now guide your attention very consciously in that direction. How do you perceive that?
Zwischendrin nochmal die Aufmerksamkeit auf den Atem lenken.
And in between you can focus on your breathing. You can look if there's space for breathing, for the perception, for awareness. And then very slowly open your eyes. What is changing when you include this sense, the sense of seeing of the eyes? Eyes are very vulnerable, connected with your soul on one hand, and on the other hand also with our conditioning, with our thinking. And maybe it stands out to you that we tend to focus or get fixed to sink into the other's eyes. It's a beautiful possibility, but check also if you're also otherwise allowed to gaze or to look or want to look. The mouth, the neck, the hair, the body. To look again and again, is there a tension in the body or some stress? And then come back to yourself, and from there start and expand anew. And then you could check it again, this attraction that brought you together. Or the question, or the interest, or the curiosity. What's your perception there in your body? Is it an experience? Or is it an expression? Is it a movement into the future? Is it something you would want to pursue, or deepen, or bring out in an expression? And again and again watch this balance or these polarizing forces, something where there's an impulse or something that's holding back or that has second thoughts. And then take a bit of time to communicate about it, and I think it would be nice if you could move closely together and whisper so that you can hear each other very well, but that it's not too loud.
Gerne flüstern. Flüstern ist gut.
Yeah, you can whisper. Whispering is good.
Und dann beendet doch so langsam das, wo ihr dran seid.
So now slowly come to an end with what you're doing at the moment.
Wieder zur Ruhe finden.
And find stillness again.
Ihr könnt gerade so sitzen bleiben, wo ihr
You
seid.
can stay seated just where you are. So now you could come together in threes and have a look there also that if possible that it's a constellation which is challenging you, or especially if it was very intensively was very intensive in twos, you could wait and see if somebody wants to join, or you take in another partner there so that there's possibly one pair amongst them. See if you can do that quietly and in stillness, that you form triangles where you can the topic of attraction or the topic of taboo, where that's also part. If possible, there should be a man and a woman in each triangle, if possible, as much as possible. And now it's time again to say goodbye to that relationship. You still have to dissolve it, even though it was very beautiful.
Doris, könntest du da dazukommen? Dann wären es da zwei. Die sind 5. Doris? Die Doris kommt zu euch. Dann spür mal da rein.
Then feel into the situation. How is it to be in threes?
Ist immer gut bei sich, so anzufangen.
It's always good to start with yourself, to get home with yourself, to be with yourself for a moment. And from there on, go outwards, feel outwardly into the relationship.
könntet natürlich schauen, ob das
Of course, you could also look if it makes a difference, whether you meet in twos and perceive each other and feel each other,
in Beziehung seid und
or are in relation to each other, and how it is in threes.
so alles genau beobachten, was sich da in mir
So
regt.
can watch everything that moves inside of me very precisely.
Gefühlen oder Gedanken.
Feelings, thoughts.
Dann könntet ihr, wenn ihr es nicht schon habt, auch
Then
die
you
Augen
could
öffnen
open your eyes if you haven't done so already.
und euch der Frage stellen, wie man
And you
zwei
could
Menschen gleichzeitig
ask
anschaut.
yourself the question how you can look at two people at the same time.
Also ernsthaft.
So, I mean seriously.
Und ob ihr dabei immer noch atmet.
And you can look if you're still
Und
breathing
selbst
at
auch
the
nicht
same
spürt.
time and still feel yourself at that moment.
Ob ihr euch hinein entspannen könnt.
If you can relax into it,
Begegnung
into
oder
that
ob das
encounter,
Spannung
or if that brings tension.
Und auch spüren, wo in
And
eurem
you can
Körper
also feel where in your body
zentriert seid gerade,
you are centered this moment,
auf welcher Ebene
or on which level
ihr euch begegnet.
you are meeting each other.
Also spürt ihr das Becken,
So, do you feel your pelvis? Area.
und das Herz.
And the heart.
Und den Kopf.
And the head.
Und hört ihr auch die Vögel und die Glocken?
And do you still hear the birds and the bells?
Und spürt ihr, wie das
And
unterschiedlich ist?
can you feel how
Was
it's
das ausmacht
different?
oder was die Qualitäten davon sind?
What it does, or what are the qualities?
Und dann natürlich diese ganzen Dynamiken da.
And then of
die wir
course
heute Vormittag
the whole dynamics, all the dynamics that we
wenn ihr es ganz
heard
zulasst,
about this
so dieses
morning,
Zu-Dritt-Sein ist nämlich
when
echt
you
ein schwieriges Ding.
completely allow this being in
Dann
threes,
ist da meistens
then often there is
dieses Schieben
this
von
pushing
schwierigen Gefühlen
of
im
difficult
Ausgeschlossen
feelings,
werden
of being, for example, of being excluded,
oder dass man Koalitionen bildet, das
or
ständig
that
irgendwo
you form
einer
coalitions,
rausfällt.
that constantly somebody falls out.
Oder dass ich mich klein fühle und
Or that I feel small,
die anderen beiden groß
and
mache und
the other two I make them large, big.
wovon wir da heute Morgen gesprochen haben.
Everything we've talked about this morning.
einfach Angst,
or maybe just fear,
hemmungslos
just without inhibitions,
im Moment zu sein oder ich zu
to
sein.
be at the in the moment and to be yourself,
Haltung eben
or
von dem,
pulling back
was eigentlich da wäre, wenn ich es nicht
from that
zurückhalten würde.
which was actually be there if I wouldn't pull it back.
Ihr könntet auch dann noch schauen, ob ihr irgendwelche Impulse habt in euch.
You could also look if there are any impulses inside of you towards somebody.
Schauen, ob ihr damit
You
ehrlich
could
sein könnt
look if you can be honest
mit euch
with
selbst
these, with yourself,
und
and
das
whether
sonst vielleicht auch zeigen wollt.
you would want to show it, possibly.
Oder einem Impuls folgen.
Or want to follow an impulse,
Zum Beispiel zu einer Berührung
for example, to have a be touching somebody,
und schaut, ob ihr damit
and you
ganz
could
ehrlich
see
sein
if you
könnt.
can be very honest with it.
Was bedeutet, dass das auch unterschiedlich sein kann.
Does it mean, can it also be different?
Es kann auch mal heißen, dass sich jemand
Can also mean
ausgeschlossen
that
fühlt, zum Beispiel.
somebody feels excluded, for example.
kann es nah und intim sein?
Is it allowed to be close and intimate?
Vielleicht will ich das ja gar nicht.
Maybe I don't want that.
Würde ich es denn wollen oder
Would
zulassen,
I
wenn ich
possibly
plötzlich
want it or allow
der Liebe
it
meines Lebens begegnen
when
würde?
suddenly I would meet the love of my life?
Und darf ich flüssig sein?
And
Darf ich
may I be
mich
liquid?
verändern auch?
Can I change in this the whole time or
Beziehung,
in our relationship?
darf die sich ändern?
Is it allowed to change?
Wenn ihr das zugelassen habt und euch gezeigt habt und
If you've allowed this and showed yourself, and it's very true and
klar
close
es zwischen geworden
between
ist zwischen
you,
euch, dann
then you
könnt
can
ihr zum Schluss nochmal so ganz
for the end now
still
to be very still
werden und eins werden.
and become one.
Einfach
Just simply
eure Wesen ineinander schmelzen
you
lassen.
let your beings melt into each other.
Oder eben ja,
Or
damit sein, wie es jetzt
You
ist.
could be with,
Die
just be with what
Trennung
is, to feel the
wenn
separation,
das da ist.
if that's what is there.
Oder eben jetzt die Vögel in eurem gemeinsamen Gehirn zwitschern hören.
Or you can hear the birds twiddling in your common brain.
Und dann könntet ihr euch auch wieder austauschen.
And then
darüber.
now you could
Schaut auch wieder, dass es nicht
express
bewertet
to each other about it
Dass ihr
and exchange,
euch möglichst ehrlich
communicate,
alles
and
sagt,
possibly
sagt.
that you can tell each other everything honestly and show yourself honestly.
Dann könntet ihr langsam abschließen.
We could slowly come to an end.
Wir dürfen gleich noch weiterreden.
You will be allowed to continue to talk soon in the large group. You have a lot to tell each other, really.
Ja, wir würden gerne noch so
Yeah, we would like to
großen Kreis
have
sprechen oder
a large circle and talk with each other, or hear you, or have an exchange with you.
Ja, öffnet euch
So please open yourself for the whole circle or for the whole group. We had, since yesterday noon, we had a lot of input, a lot of topics. We assume that that has done something with some of you, so that it maybe confronts you, or I've heard from people who said, well, it puts me to my limits, or yeah, that has brought up whole new questions inside of me. So we have now another half-hour time where we could exchange about that and show each other that even there where we are not in personal contact, we still also live and experience what it does with the others, this being together, the topics here, the exercises maybe now too, the reports of experiences, talks, presentations, or just how you are inside, where you're standing. I've just realized something very interesting. Actually, I know it theoretically, but it's always good to feel that again and again. In the exercise with three of us, there's really the best and most relieving is just the truth, and that should have room. That's really the very best. I've realized with feeling excluded, or the fear to exclude somebody, or the feeling of being excluded, actually it's a relief. For example, I joined these other two, and I felt, yeah, I'm joining them, and they have something together, they don't really show that. And then when it was finally allowed, there was like a burden taken off of me, and I found that really like an experience. And only then I had impulses. I didn't have any. Suddenly I had impulses to touch or closeness when this was clear. That really touches me at the moment. It always becomes apparent to me, this aspect, that it's not just the incest taboo and overcoming it or feeling into it does not mean to look at attractions, but also to look at feeling the attraction from the others, and that you can position yourself in that respect. For example, that you can say, I don't want that. This is unpleasant to me. And if it's taboo, then you can't even do that. And that's where abuse becomes possible. I don't know if that's also part of the incest taboo, that you also can't feel all the other feelings, not just the attraction and the beautiful, or that you want to move towards the other people, but also all the fears and neediness of the others, which you would like to distance yourself from, but that you can't do if you don't admit it. And
Hallo?
I didn't dare starting because then the micro was on its way still. So I've been on the way for a long time. I live here, but I have to get even closer. So I understand a lot and I feel a lot towards you and also inside of me. And then a lot of things break open. And when Anna was giving her presentation, I work outside and also at my workplace, also psychiatry, and I asked myself, how can she bear it? How can she stand it? But I'm in a similar place, and when I counted up, I'm there 50 to 60 hours a week outside. And when I go even further, I don't know how long this is going for, how you can actually stand it. Or if you have to split it off, because it starts already in the train. I feel good, I feel in my pelvic area, I feel breathing, I look at the people, and then I'm totally alone. And then I'm not being understood. I have discussions at the workplace, and I look for the relation more and more, but I move around in role images, and it's somewhat always stress, so I should go even closer. So I think that was the question, how can I bear this? And this is a big challenge for me. Even to go out there and meet other people with what we have here inside the tent, so close, and it's yeah. I would like to share that I feel very much being given gifts richly, and it's like a remembrance, something opening again of a room which I have already known with my partner. When we first met, we had this space of, so clear in love, and everyone in itself and also with another, that there's also space for sharing with the people around us and to enjoy it and have all the questions, who gets more or less or who is allowed to, that didn't play a role at all. But now, after 7 years, we're at a completely different spots, and we haven't been able to feel much of each other, and I feel this now as a real nice remembrance of this being and this possibility, and I could really enjoy this this moment in our threesome being together here.
Danke dafür,
Thank you very much
diese Ahnung wieder da ist.
that this unction is there again. I've experienced something with this being together with in threes. I'm suddenly afraid, and it's a feeling of that these are my parents, and I'm afraid that I'm not accepted, and that has scared me a bit. And I had to be with it for a long time and to calm down somehow. But there's also a lot of prohibition and forbiddenness. I was there with Ulrike and Stefan. We were the three of us together. And then I kind of fell out, yeah, also in force, yeah. It's true, I'm closer with you. It was very exciting. It's also already a lot has healed, but there I always had the problem that I felt excluded and then left alone, deserted, and now it was a completely different part. I felt guilty. Well, they have a relationship and I feel the attraction from Stefan, and then the feeling of guilt towards Ulrike, that's also new to me, and also it's very much I could feel it very much, the whole confusion, then to form an alliance with Ulrike and the bad consciousness to exclude somebody, and it was very impressive.
I will speak in English. First of all, I want to thank you for facilitating a space like this. It is very deeply touched by what is happening here, and it takes some time to process that, but it's very unique and important. I came here to meet and to feel, and this is what is happening, and I feel that it is starting a kind of a transformation inside of me. I don't know where the transformation will go, but I have the feeling that something is starting, and it's very important for me. So I thank you all for what you are doing here. In the thing we did together, I felt in the beginning very strange when Manfred came and joined us. I didn't know how I can choose him and let him in. That was the beginning, a very big conflict of choosing. Who do I need to choose, and how can I choose? And then it became softer and softer and softer, and it became like a space that I don't need to choose, and I can choose him, and I can choose Sonia. And then again the conflict arises. It was all the time coming and going, coming and going. was very precisely touching this place of needing to choose or not needing to choose. What do I do with this choosing thing? Yeah, okay. Is it able to say, but maybe later. Thank you.
I've been living here for many years, and in my personal life I have to do with a lot of failure at the moment because I do love two men, and in this exercise or this encounter experience something very beautiful, that I can do it and that it is possible if they all want to, if we all want to. And we've had an exchange about it. It was like a beautiful gift of a prototype, a space where you don't have to choose, where you can just be, and also may the attention be more with the one or the other, but still it creates a room the whole time, a space that is much greater and larger than being excluded. Well, in the very beginning it was a bit special for me. It's a very special situation. I've never done such an exercise, and in the beginning I feel how there are certain blockages, whether they're natural blockages or blockages through the incest problem or other injuries, that you feel this tension, and as soon as the other person laughs, the whole thing breaks and you get closer and closer. And I was very astonished how in the end what trust one can, because I actually don't know anybody here, how much trust one can give to the others, and how in little things, if it comes from the heart, how one can make a very big gift to somebody else, even if it's just a small touch. When you're concentrating on the other person, that was like with empathy, feeling what the other is feeling, and to enhance your consciousness, so you can actually feel, and the other person also feels what you're giving him or her. And that was very impressive, that I've never experienced before as in this context here. I haven't quite understood how it goes to look at two women at the same time, two people at the same time. But what has really touched me was that how it is when you are in a relationship of two and you have a certain quality of energy, and suddenly there's a third energy that mixes with each other, they mix with each other, and that was really beautiful. But we had to also realize that there was this given time. It was also sort of artificial to have this given time, and how much time that we all realize that how little time one really takes to be in threes. Time to feel into it, to research, to go into the feelings, what does it all do? And I would really like to take that to heart, to have more time and to take more time in being three together, three people. So the evening meal will not be tete-a-tete tonight, but tete-a-tete-a-tete, so with candlelight. We've known each other for a long, long time, but we've never really come together, and I was very happy that Berend has come to me. At first I didn't quite understand it, but I realized in being together it was just about being there completely and to actually feel each other, and that was really wonderful. Just to be there together and experience each other. And then he came and gave me back an answer. I had the impression we're ready for anything that's there, to feel into it, and then space became so big it was almost like flying. And then he came back to me. Yes, he also felt like my big brother, even though I'm not that small anymore. And then Nicolas came and joined us. And since Berend said he felt more like my big brother, it was sort of like a letter of allowance that I could feel really free. And I had felt this young male energy, and it was just really beautiful. It was like just a very, very nice being, the three of us, because everything had room. It was very healing, very touching, very beautiful.
Hört dich nicht.
For me, being in threes was easier than being in twos. I had the feeling of having a lot more space, a lot of free room, and we came into a very nice connection of hearts. And why don't I feel something difficult? And it was just, I don't want anything. I don't want anything here. So it's easy. But as soon as I want something, and I also know that in being in threes, it can get difficult. And in the heart space, I also find it's easy when I'm with the two of you. But as soon as sexuality comes into the picture, it gets difficult. And what also impressed on me a lot is how to do it to see two people at the same time. But what I felt there, it also just needs more space, more distance, maybe a bit distance, not to be too close, then I can see both. That was an impressionable experience for me as well. What stood out to me through all the theoretical topics with the problem of triangles and threesomes, it was also what I've gathered intellectually and compare with what I had read and what you'd said. In this exercise it became physically tangible. It was like running through it quickly again, solidifying, to feel excluded, fear of being excluded. Heart connection, feeling a heart connection with somebody. With Doris, it was very hearty with us. With Oris, it was more in the tummy. There was also competition and fear of being excluded, but also competition. And then there was fear of judging thoughts, assessing thoughts, all these aspects, why there is a taboo and why it's being made a taboo, all these difficult feelings that coming together in threes causes. I've actually really felt it, I was also stressed and sweating.
Ganz schön.
It was actually really,
Sehr mitgenommen.
it really took me and affected me. Or then that I saw pictures
Zwischen uns stelle zum Beispiel.
that would, or I put imaginations between us.
Ist dann auch, ist auch eine schöne Wendung.
And it also came to a nice turn where suddenly everything became free again and there was a very direct connection, as if once again everything that we'd heard here on the topic with triangles, incest problems or taboo, as if I relived it physically and felt it again and relived it in a very compressed form. Maybe a last word from somebody here? In my life I had a lot of conferences, but this conference here I feel I've changed. I think I've really I'm leaving tomorrow with very strongly changed impulses again tomorrow. So then we would like to close by listening to a piece of music together. And the incest taboo, we've tried to come close to it from different sides, to make it conscious, make it that we can experience it in our bodies. And we'd like to just listen to this music together and feel into that area and get a fragrance of it. If this also can be resolved and one can just be in a field where you feel safe and cared for, maybe where you can just settle down where you are with those that are there to make yourself comfortable.
Deep within your heart, you know it's plain to see. Like Adam was to Eve, you were made for me. They say the poison wine breaks the final wine. Our love is easy. If you asked me plainly, I would gladly say I'd like to have you around just for them rainy days. I like the touch of your hand, the way you make no demands. Our love is easy. Our love is easy, like the water rushing over stone. Our love is easy, like no love I've ever known. Physically speaking, it was made to last. Examine all the pieces of your recent past. There's a mountain above your hand around the waist. Your love is easy. Deep within your heart, and though it's plain to see, like Adam was to Eve, it was made for me. They say the poison wine breeds a final wine. Our love is easy. Love is easy, like water rushing over stone. Our love is easy, like no love I've ever known. If you ask me plainly, I would gladly say I'd like to have you around just for the rainy day. I like the touch of your hand, the way you make no demands. I love it. Easy.